Hi guys, it's Kelly and I'm back with another video for Honeybee Stamps. Today I am showing you how I made my son's custom shaker birthday card. I used the Big Pickup Tailgate. I also used the Loads of Love. I showed you the party hat. I didn't end up using it, but I will show you what the intention was. And then this one, the You're So Extra, love the sentiments in that. Tailgate Alpha. And then these two, I wasn't sure if I was going to use the balloon numbers or the balloon alphas. I ended up using the numbers, but those are both in the retired section. They're on their way out. So the Big Pickup I have used several times because I have a child who loves trucks, loves anything kind of mechanical. So we always have a birthday theme in our household, and his birthday theme this year was Ford trucks. So I knew right away I was going to use this one. And because each sibling wants what the other sibling has, he had also put the requirement on me that it be a shaker. Now, this stamp set was never intended to be a shaker. However, I am going to show you how I turned the tailgate into the shaker portion of my shaped card. So I like to stamp all of my images twice. That's what you saw me doing there. I am using the Intense Black ink from Honeybee. This is safe with alcohol markers. That's what I'm going to be coloring mine with today. Obviously, you could use any preferred medium that you have. The presents are from that Loads of Love because those work with any sort of celebration. And since mine is a birthday, I thought it would be really cute if it was hauling a load of presents. And then we're going to further customize it by using those balloon numbers with the actual number. So here I stamped there's a lot of license plates that you can choose from. And so I chose the two Fast for You because I thought he would enjoy that. But they also have like a happy birthday to you one in there, which would have fit perfectly. But I didn't realize how it die cut, so I did stamp it down on there and color it. I am going to show you all of the coloring on this one because it's just easier, but please know that I have another one that I colored just the tailgate portion because I need that part to die cut and pop up to be the lid for my shaker. So as far as the coloring goes, I did, the tires black, obviously, and then the undercarriage as well, a little bit of black with some darker grays. Now my truck is going to be blue, so I chose cooler grays. That's just what I have a tendency to lean towards. And then obviously the lower that it gets, the lighter that it's going to be, because when it's tucked up under the truck, it will be darker, that the truck body would cast a shadow. And then I also made the little muffler portion a little bit lighter just so it didn't all blend in together. I shaded that with just the grays instead of including the black. I know right now when we're looking at it, it's probably hard to tell, but in real life you can see the difference. For the back bumper, I am coloring that, like it has those two little holes. I colored those dark. And then I am going to do kind of the underneath little lip a little bit darker and leave the top portion of the bumper. I'm coloring it as if it's like kind of shiny, like a shiny silver. So I'm adding shading to the bottom and then the left and right hand sides. But then with the C3, I am also going to add a little bit, just like a line of shading at the top, which will give it this highlight along the middle that will look like it's shiny. If you get a little bit heavy-handed with your cool grays, don't worry about it. You can always put that highlight back in with a white gel pen. For the actual license plate, I live in Ohio, so I colored my plate like an Ohio plate because my child pays attention to those details. Like that's just, he knows how they're supposed to look to him. The little mirrors, I also did silver, and then I chose the B90s family for the truck. Since we do a theme, that means that we also have like a color scheme that goes with our theme, and that's really all I had to go on, right? Because it's not like Ford is putting out birthday party supplies. I assure you, they are not. But because of what color their logo is, our color scheme was like silver, blue, black, and white. So that's why I chose the blue for the truck. Also, it's my son's favorite color. So I would highly recommend, whatever your color scheme is or whatever your child's favorite color is. Or maybe if you're giving this card, with a gift to another child, whatever their favorite color is. So as far as putting down the shading, like you have the front, like the cab of the truck, that is going to have some dark shading because the presents are going to be sitting in front of it. As far as the bed of the truck, that is going to have some shading where it's meeting the tailgate. Because remember, when we're adding shading, it's any point where two places meet or where one object lies on top of the other. So that tailgate is meeting the bed of the truck. There'll be shading there. For the fenders are going to be sitting behind our tailgate. Remember, we're going to pop our tailgate up so that it is a shaker element. So that's going to stick out further than the fenders will. So there's going to be shading there. And then for the actual tailgate, you can choose to either make the section in the middle inset or sticking out. I made mine inset, and I did that by making my edges darker than the outside layer. So it's going to look like it's sitting in and the rest of the tailgate is kind of coming up around it. If I shaded it the other way, where it was like darker in the center and lighter at the edges, it would look as if that middle portion was kind of protruding out from the rest of the tailgate. And this, I'm not going to leave any white highlights for. You absolutely could if you wanted your truck to look like super shiny. Or you could, again, if you're not that comfortable with coloring with alcohol markers, you can always add it back in with that white gel pen. The white gel pen is like the savior. I use and everybody has their preferred. This one's I've been rocking since high school and it hasn't let me down yet. I use the Sakura Jelly Roll white gel pen, but you have to remember they come in sizes. I use the 10 because it's like a good medium line, good medium size line, and that one does not clog on me. The 8s I have bought in the past are a little bit smaller. It's more of a fine line, and those do typically clog on me. So that's just my experience with that. If you have a different white gel pen you love, awesome. Go with what you know. So then we're just going to color all the way out to our lightest color, and you can see how much dimension we're already getting. This large area in the center can be a little bit challenging to blend in when you have larger areas to fill, but don't just go over it one time. Go over it with your lighter color until you can start to see it blend. Now, also keep in mind that is the specific area in which we're going to be putting the shaker, so not everybody's going to be paying attention to all the details. For the window, I chose some brighter blues. So my darkest is going to be the B02, which still is a very light color. And basically all I'm doing is doing like little flicks at a diagonal that are going to give the impression that there's a reflection off of the windows. Now, why do you typically see windows as blue? Because usually they're reflecting the sky, like they're reflecting the light that is up, in the sky. So once I did the B02, I blended that out with a B01 and then finally a B00. And that's just going to give me nice, like blue detailed windows. And you can also go back in there if you feel like you've been too heavy handed again with the white gel pen. You can go back in there and add in a couple of lines. So for the lights on the back, I did them red for the brakes. And then, like I said, I'm from Ohio, so that's how I colored the plate. We're going to move on to the presents now. Since it is a birthday celebration, I chose to go with brighter colors. First, because I like bright colors. Now, and not everybody does. Some people like colors that are more desaturated, but this is a kid's birthday card. Now, he happens to be my kid, but if I was making this for somebody else's kids, I would also choose brighter cards. It tends to be what you see, for younger kids, and mine's turning 11, so he still falls into that kind of preteen, school-age child, and so I went with brighter colors. And also, card design wise, this is my only opportunity to add color, because the truck, unless I decided, that I was going to make it like a rainbow colored, like we went to the junkyard and just picked a bunch of different colored pieces parts. It's going to be all one color, and mine is all blue. So the presents and the balloons are really the only opportunity that I have to bring in any color at all. So I'm going to make sure that I pack in as much as possible into these presents, just to make it more interesting and more like celebratory. So I just picked out a couple of bright combinations. Now, I ended up with all the colors of the rainbow, but that wasn't my intention. My intention wasn't to do like a rainbow of birthday presents, but it is how it came out, and I'm perfectly fine with it. I did choose to use like the more yellows, oranges, up like the ones that would be more visible, because orange is blue's complementary color, which means they look really nice together. So that orangish yellow is going to kind of be very eye-catching in the design. So I chose to go with those. And also the blues that I included in the presents are not the same blue as the truck. They are the same blue family as the windows. So those are kind of complementary, but it's not going to be anything that's going to blend in. We want these presents to kind of stand out as the, it's not the focal point, but we want them to bring the color, bring the fun. So we did those. And again, I'm just following those same rules. There's not a lot of real estate here. So for a lot of them, I'm using just 3 colors, a light, a medium, and a dark. But if you only have room for 2 colors, like in some of these stripes, I only have room for 2 colors, that's totally fine. Just as long as you're getting a little bit like a medium and a light, or a dark and a medium, just so that there is some contrast. Now, some of these bigger presents, like this purple one here, I absolutely have enough room to do 3 colors, and that extra dark color of being like tucked behind all those presents will give me more dimension, because it will give me more contrast. And you cannot have dimension without contrast. Everything will just look very one note. So just keep those 2 rules in mind, where 2 points meet, or where one lays on top of the other. Now I colored the other, this is the frame portion, a tailgate, but I didn't have to color the whole thing because I'm only just going to cut out the frame. On the right, I'm cutting out the whole truck. And then on the left-hand side, there is a die for the tailgate, and then also for the inset portion. I'm going to do the inset portion first, and then I'm going to go back and die cut the tailgate out of the same piece that's colored. I'm also going to use the coordinating dies for the presents. And then that tailgate alpha, I'm going to write out the word Ford. Obviously, whatever, like if your person, your recipient, that's the word I want, is, likes one kind of car over the other, like you could absolutely spell out something else. Or you could spell out happy birthday to you, or you don't have to spell out anything. You could just put the shaker bits, and that would be cute. I've chose some black mirror cardstock for my balloons so that they will look like little foil balloons. And I am going to cut out 2 ones, because mine's turning 11, backwards and forwards, because I'm making a shaped card. And then I'm using the tailgate one to also cut out a piece of acetate. This is going to act as our lid for the shaker. Typically, I'm not a huge fan of using liquid adhesive to adhere things to acetate. It's got a longer dry time, and so it makes it more likely that you will nudge it or make a mistake with it, just because, it takes a minute to dry. However, this frame is so thin, I didn't really have a choice. So I'm going to go ahead and glue my presents down. If you guys have watched my videos before, I'm not a big proponent of the white outline that a die leaves. I like everything to kind of blend in together. And so I am going to go back in with the blues that I colored the truck in and color in that outline so that everything blends really, really nicely. And even like the part where you can see like the little gift bag that's all white, I went in and colored that to match the window. So everything looks as if it should be part of this scene that we've already created. So just do what works for you. If you don't mind a white outline, then that's cool. Then you can just leave it. For me, because I am, I guess, probably somebody who pays attention to like the scenes, it does bother me. So I do color them in. So here, in order to get my placement perfect, I am going to lay my acetate down over the tailgate. I'm going to add my liquid adhesive to the frame that I have. And you've probably noticed by now that my frame is not a complete frame. It's open at the bottom. Hang tight, I have a way to fix that. Because remember, these dies were created to be layering dies. They were not created to be shaker dies, but that doesn't mean we can't use them that way. So once I have everything lined up on the acetate, I double check it. And then that license plate is actually going to be the portion that holds everything together for me. So if you've ever made a shaker card or an independent shaker element, you know that you have to raise it up. If you have to use the foam adhesive, because if you don't raise it up, there's not any room for your shaker bits to shake. So I have some very thin foam tape here, and I am going to run it straight across, even that open gap at the bottom, because that will expose, like that part that's exposed is still sticky, and that way I can adhere my license plate right over that sticky part, but there is a little bit of a gap because, you know, there's a difference between the two dies. So in order to fix that and not be able to see the white foam, I am going to color it with my alcohol markers. Alcohol inks or alcohol markers will color almost anything. But you got to be careful because they'll color almost anything. So even like when I'm coloring on my glass mat and stuff, I make sure to go back in and clean it up with alcohol. So that way I'm not staining my glass placemat here. So now we're going to continue putting in the foam tape to build up that shaker. You do need to go edge to edge so none of your shaker bits fall out. One of the things that I realized right away was that you could still see, because it was up higher, you could still see the white of the foam, like just from the side. And I did not love that. So I kind of messed around with it to see if I could get it to be, like right perfect where you couldn't see it. And I could not. So here is how I fixed it. Because it's a blue truck and we're laying it down over blue coloring as well, I went ahead and took the darkest blue, which for me is a B99, and I colored the edge of the window. So I colored right on top of the acetate. Remember, I just said you could color almost anything? And all of that's doing is it's just tinting the window to be darker. So when you're looking at it from the top or from the side, you don't really see the white of the foam because we have that blue over top of it. And that will stay there. It's not going to rub off with your finger or anything like that. It will stay on the acetate. So once it's dry, if you rub it while it's wet, it probably will come off, but you have to let it, give it a second or two to dry. Alcohol dries pretty quickly. So I messed around with whether or not to put the letters on top of the acetate or behind. I was worried that if I put them on top, that I would have like sticky areas on the acetate, and I didn't want that. So ultimately I decided that I was just going to adhere them directly to the tailgate. And when I am spelling out words, I like to start in the center. It helps me to get more even spacing if I start in the center. So I just count, like this is very easy. I have 4, right? But let's say I had 5. Like if this was plural, Fords, then I would start with the R. The R is directly in the middle. It's got 2 letters to the left and the right. Starting in the middle helps you to get better, more even spacing. So now that I have that done, it's time to start filling our shaker. Now this is not a large shaker, so even though I'm putting in the sequins, I am picking out the bigger ones. So that way I just have the little or tinier ones for the iridescent sequins. I'm also choosing flatter or smaller fillers. So Honeybee's Obsidian Rhinestones, I love them. But what I did was I kind of dumped them out in my little triangle tray here, and then I removed any of the large ones. That way I could just put in the smaller sizes into my shaker, and I wouldn't have to worry about any of them getting stuck or kind of overtaking the other ones. The last part I put in was some silver confetti, and confetti is typically flat. So yeah, I don't have to worry about, that creating any issues. And also I was a little bit more light-handed because I still wanted to be able to see the words, because that's my kid, that's what the part that he's going to love is that it's a Ford truck. So now I scoop all of my little parts into the center. I remove my tape from the foam, and then I can line that up perfectly. I make sure that everything is lined up before I push it down completely. And then there is our tailgate shaker element. This is all because I made his sister a shaker card for her birthday, and then he wanted one. So here is the trim for the party hat, and I just wanted to show you what my intention was with this. It was either to put it on top of the tailgate or underneath. Kind of like when somebody gets married and you see like the little like cans or streamers or whatever. And I think it would have been really, really cute, but my kid is a bit simpler, and so I thought it was going to be too much, so that's why I chose to leave it off. But if you have a wedding, or maybe you have like a 16-year-old who's going to start driving, or maybe you would want something a little bit extra, that would be a super cute card. Here I am gluing the ones that I cut backwards and forwards together. So one of them I cut with the shiny side of the cardstock facing up, and one of them I cut with the shiny side of the cardstock facing down. And that way they would be mirror images of each other, because this 11 is going to hang over the top of the card. And so from the back, I didn't want you to be able to see that raw, like white inside of the cardstock. Don't mind my hair. So now the balloons are in place. For the sentiment, in order to tie in that black, I am going to do white heat embossing on black cardstock. I love this sentiment set, but I really liked the one that says "You're so extra," and then it has an additional portion that you can stamp that says "Extra special, extra love, extra awesome." And I thought that would be pretty fitting for my kiddo. So I went ahead, treated with my anti-static tool, stamped twice in my brilliant white pigment ink from Honeybee, and then I used a white detail embossing powder on there, tapped off the excess, heated it until smooth, and then I will cut this out with its coordinating die. While I am doing that, I am also going to cut a second truck out of white. This is going to be the back of our card, so there isn't a reason to, stamp anything on it. I'm going to adhere this down flat. I'm just going to glue it. I put mine right over the presents because remember, the presents are not the focal point. For this, the shaped truck is the focal point, and the presents are just supporting actors. Even with the balloons and the sentiment, you can still see plenty of the presents, and it brings that kind of celebration theme through. For this, remember that this is going to, you're going to score it backward. So you want to score it so that you're putting the groove in where the groove is facing up into the piece of cardstock, which your truck is front facing. That is you want to flip it over and score it from the back. So that way the fold is front facing, because this is going to open up. So before I do the folding though, I'm going to do the stamping inside. The reason that I choose to do it this way is because it's much easier to stamp on a flat piece of paper than it is one that's already been folded and scored, folded, and what is the word that I want? Why can't I think of it? Reinforced. That it's already been reinforced with the bone folder. So I just went ahead and stamped this in black. That happy birthday is from the mini messages, because it was one of the ones that was smaller that would fit. Now I'm going to fold this back, reinforce it with the bone folder, and then I'm only going to put my adhesive on the top of that fold so it matches up perfectly. This is the tear tape from Honeybee. It's a great strong adhesive, and because it is a great strong adhesive, I am also going to put some liquid glue on it. When I'm doing a shaped card and I need my edges to line up perfectly, right? I need one truck to match up perfectly with the other truck. I need that little bit of wiggle room, and putting a little bit of liquid adhesive over that strong adhesive will give me just that little bit of wiggle room. I find that I have a much easier time lining things up if I hold them in my hands. So that's how I did it. And then just once I had everything lined up, went ahead and pushed that into place, and it's already holding. Word of caution though, don't add your back to the front of your truck until that ink is dry. It typically doesn't take very long for the ink to dry, but you don't want it to transfer to the top portion. I am a person who loves all the details, so I do that with my white gel pen. I added some stripes to the presents and some highlights. I also added in the balloon strings. Those balloons, the balloon numbers set does have a die cut, but I wanted to still be able to see the present, so that's why I chose not to do that. In addition, I used the white gel pen to draw in the tread for the tires. And once it was dry, I did go back over it with a C5 marker just to kind of knock it back so the tread wasn't white. And then that's it. That's the whole card with our little custom shaker element. So I hope that this inspires you guys. Thank you so much for joining me. I always appreciate your time, and I will catch you on the next video. Bye.